Hi there, it's Hank Carr from Fork+Cleaver Farm. I had to take the end off the machine here today, which I thought would give me a good opportunity to talk about how it works. So there's the end off. So the important thing to know about this machine is that it's an airlock, right? The system is under vacuum, and we need to get the sap out somehow. And if you have a big vessel that's under vacuum, and it's got sap in it, and you open a valve, air gets sucked in, the sap doesn't come out. So what we need is a way to get the sap out of the vacuum, to release it from the vacuum, a vacuum releaser. So that's what this is. So the sap comes in here. This is the line that comes in. It comes in through the wall here, right there, and comes across here and up there and then into here. The first thing we see is there's a check valve. And what this is, you can see the flapper here. This flapper is free. It opens and closes under its own weight. And there's two of these check valves. There's one here, and there's one down there. And there's two solenoid valves. This is one, and that's the other. Oops, the heater just came on here. Let me turn that down. All right. The whole machine is run by those four valves. So what happens is we draw down a vacuum in this vessel. That vacuum pulls this check valve open. So the stuff coming in from the trees this way pulls the valve open. And it can do that because there's higher pressure on this side than there is on this side, because there's a vacuum in here. This check valve down here, it's actually attached to the upper tank right there and the lower tank right there. So when this is under vacuum, there's vacuum here, but not here. So this valve is pulled tightly closed. So when the container is under vacuum, this valve is tightly closed, which keeps the sap in. And this valve up here is pulled open, letting the sap come in. Now the two solenoids up here, this one obviously just opens to air. So this is the air solenoid. This one connects to the vacuum pump. So that is the vacuum line. So air is being sucked out this way. That pulls this valve open and that valve closed. So the whole system is under vacuum. And what happens is the sap gets sucked in. The sap comes in through here, and you can see there's a little bit of sap in the bottom of this valve right up to here. So the sap comes in and it starts to fill up this container. And it comes in through that hole, the big white hole at the back there. Okay? The smaller hole in front of it, that's the air. This hole here is vacuum. So what we have is we have a dual float switch. The way that this works is there's a magnetic switch inside here, inside this rod, up here and down here. So when this vessel starts to fill with sap, this little float floats up and flips the switch. And then the controller right there knows that there's sap inside this vessel. And the level continues to rise. So this one stays up, and I can't hold it up. I don't have enough. Oh, I can. So this one stays up and it continues to rise. It continues to rise. It continues to rise. And then this one goes up when the sap gets up at the top here. And that tells the controller that the vessel is full. Now it needs to empty. So what it does is this solenoid here, this valve is normally open so that when it has no power on it, it lets the vacuum suck air out. This one over here is normally closed. So during normal operation, this one doesn't let air in, which lets this one let the vacuum in and draw a vacuum inside the container. So it fills up. Once that top float switch there goes up, the controller down there, that guy, knows that it's time to release. So what it does is it closes this valve, which is normally open, and that prevents the vacuum pump from pumping air out. And then it opens this one, which lets air rush in. And obviously that breaks the vacuum. So we start to lose vacuum here. But we've got over 1 kilometer, almost 2 kilometers of hose out in the woods connecting to the trees, and we don't want it to lose vacuum. So what happens is as the pressure comes up on this side, the vacuum on this side pulls this valve tightly closed. So nothing can get in here. So the hose stays under vacuum, right? This side here, this valve is closed, so this stays under vacuum. And what happens is the tank loses its vacuum. So now the weight of the sap, and there's 30 liters of sap in here, the weight of the sap is sufficient that it pushes this check valve here open. So the sap rushes through here, comes out of the top tank, through here and into the bottom tank, and the bottom tank fills up. Okay? The bottom tank is a transfer tank. All it's there for is to get the sap from this guy up into there. So what happens next is there's a float switch down in the bottom tank. When that float switch comes up, because the sap is running down from the upper tank into the lower tank, it starts a pump. And the pump is right down there. Let me take you around to see it. So can you see that? Yeah. So there's the pump right there. And you can see it just comes out of the tank there, through this pump, a little wacky pump, and then up. And it goes up into the tote. So what's happening here is the sap is releasing. The releaser is releasing the sap. So the level starts to go down. This float switch goes down. The level continues to go down until this float switch goes down because the level is low enough. Now the controller knows that it's ready to reset. So this guy here is busy sending the sap up to the tote. Now this guy needs to start pulling the sap again. So as soon as it detects that this float switch goes down, it closes the air solenoid right here, so no more air can go in. It opens the vacuum solenoid and starts drawing vacuum. Now, as the vacuum builds, this check valve is pulled tightly closed again. And once we get sufficient vacuum on this side, it starts to pull sap through here again. And this guy starts to fill up. So what this thing here is, let me see if I can get back far enough there. What this thing is it's an airlock. And it's an airlock that's designed to isolate the releaser from the vacuum in the rest of the system so that we can get the sap out. And then it rebuilds the vacuum in here, reconnects it to the system, and starts pulling sap again. So that's what this machine does. And this is really the heart of our collection system right here. Now, the reason that I had the end off there was because I had a leak around a fitting, and I'm going to put a new end on and tighten it up and start the machine. But I thought that this would give me a good opportunity to explain to you with, oops, I'm tripping here, with the end open, what this machine does. And at some point I'll come back and do another video maybe about the RO or about the controller. The controller's up here on the wall. Industrial controller there. But that's a quick video about how this machine works. Now, if you have questions about this machine, or if you're interested in building one of these yourself, go ahead and leave me a comment, send me a note. I love building these machines, and I'd be happy to help anybody else do it who wants to. All right? Have a nice day.